Jason Everman play bass.
Jason Everman was in Nirvana and Soundgarden, but he got kicked out before both bands got famous. He toured with these bands, and after being fired by both of them, he watched them blow up after he left. Most people would beat themselves up about failing to make it in the biggest rock bands of the grunge era, and Jason did just that for a while. But then he forged a new path, training in the Army and Special Forces, and at one point he trained to be a Buddhist monk. Who knows, maybe that's where he reached Nirvana. Keep watching for a quick biopic of Jason Everman's life in rock and roll and beyond. Born on October 16th, 1967, up in Alaska, Jason Everman grew up in a dysfunctional family with his mom and dad quickly getting divorced after his birth. This troubled upbringing caused Jason to act out. One such incident saw him blowing up a toilet with a firecracker. Talk about explosive diarrhea. Prior to being in Nirvana, Kurt Cobain was in a band called Fecal Matter. Back to Jason, his destructive behavior eventually landed him in therapy, and this is where his therapist taught him to play guitar. From there, he started playing with punk rock bands in high school, and he eventually moved to Seattle, Washington, when his friend Chad Channing started drumming with Kurt Cobain in Nirvana. Jason learned to play the rhythm guitar based on demos Nirvana had recorded. His first time playing with the band was at Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington.
Kurt wanted a second guitar player for the live show, have a heavier sound live, take some of the guitar playing responsibility off him so he could concentrate on vocals.
Jason Everman was in Nirvana from February to July of 1989, but did not play on the first Nirvana album made by Sub Pop Records, although he is credited with playing guitar on the album. This was done as a thank you from Kurt because Jason paid the $606 to cover the studio expenses needed to record Bleach. When you hear the song about a girl on the radio, thank Jason, because it would not exist without his funding. The only songs he recorded with Nirvana was Dive and a cover of the Kiss song Do You Love Me. During the roughly 6 months he was with Nirvana, Jason had become isolated and quiet on tour. Kurt's my way or the highway attitude meant that Jason and Chad had no creative input in the band. Also, Jason was more of a metalhead, and Kurt wanted to write songs that featured more pop elements. All these differences led to Jason getting fired from Nirvana. Luckily, another Seattle band needed a bass player.
He left Nirvana, so we asked him if he wanted to check it out. He was already a big fan.
Sometime in the fall of 1989, Jason got the gig to do live shows with Soundgarden. The only song he recorded with Soundgarden was in April 1990. On the record Loudest Love, playing bass for a cover of the Beatles' Come Together. Although he can be seen in the Louder Than Live music videos, he doesn't actually play on these tracks. Once again, Jason began to grow distant from his bandmates, and he wasn't getting along with the group's frontman. Chris Cornell and Jason weren't communicating well together. Chris probably took Jason's introverted personality as him not wanting to be in the band or not wanting to talk to him. So around summer of 1990, Jason was kicked out of Soundgarden, his favorite Seattle band.
Being a professional rock musician was something I kind of fell into. It wasn't something that I had a dream of.
Being fired from Soundgarden was hard on Jason, although he continued to play music with other bands. Jason soon recognized that he wasn't interested in playing rock and roll for the rest of his life and decided to change his life dramatically by joining the U.S. Army in 1994. He would go on to become a U.S. Army Ranger in the 2nd Battalion in a Green Beret and do tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. After a brief time in 1998 where he studied to become a Buddhist monk, he returned to the military where he served for a total of 12 years in the armed forces. In 2006, after leaving the military, he got a degree in philosophy and decided to return to making music in 2017 with the band Silence and Light. The profits from this band were given to military veterans and first responders, which combined all three aspects of Jason Everman's life: soldier, musician, and philosopher. Truly, Jason Everman has lived a well-rounded life, even if fame and fortune eluded him in rock and roll. Please like and subscribe to my channel.